Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. Nick catches Matt after Lily captures Phyllis and Kane. Lily Winters will catch Kane Ashby and Phyllis Summers in a close moment while Nick Newman traps Matt Clark aka Mitch Bacall. Watched as Noah Newman was knocked unconscious to the ground by Annie Stewart after being hit in the back. Annie also forced Sienna Bacall to take a walk with her at gunpoint, so Sienna will be missing on Tuesday's show. Noah will get some ice for his head and update Sharon Newman and Nick on the situation. Although Nick will think Sienna might have reunited with Matt willingly, Noah won't believe that for a second and will chide his father for constantly assuming Sienna is bad news. Noah's main concern will be rescuing Sienna, so that could lead to another showdown if he eventually figures out where Annie took her. As for Nick, he'll eventually concentrate on the traps he's been setting for Matt. Nick will do his best to back Matt into a corner, but that could lead to more danger than he bargained for. She will have some advice for Diane Jenkins Abbott over with Tracy Abbott. Tracy might believe that Diane and Jack Abbott need to take some time for themselves because they have been so involved in the most recent round of the Newman-Abbott feud. In the upcoming episodes, Jack and Diane will indeed have a romantic Christmas Eve, and Tracy's advice may be the reason for this. In the meantime, Kane and Phyllis will give Lily a close-up look when she comes across them. Lily won't like what she sees, whether Phyllis and Kane are kissing or just looking way too intense. Kane tried to convince Lily that he'd put Phyllis in the rearview mirror, but she may lash out if he proves that's not true. Lily Winters' world tilts on its axis the moment she turns a corner and catches sight of Kane Ashby and Phyllis Summers locked in a moment that feels far too intimate to be innocent, the air between them thick with unspoken history and dangerous temptation, and even before she fully registers what she's seeing, a familiar ache tightens in her chest because this is exactly what Kane swore would never happen again. Whether their lips are inches apart, their hands brushing just a second too long, or their eyes burning with the kind of intensity that only comes from unfinished business, Lily instantly knows this isn't harmless. It's betrayal hovering on the edge of becoming something worse. Her mind races back to Kane's promises, to the careful words he used when he insisted Phyllis was firmly in his past, nothing more than a mistake he'd learned from, and yet here they are, looking like two people who never truly let go. Lily freezes, watching just long enough to see Phyllis tilt her head in that familiar way, the way she always does when she's pulling someone into her orbit, and Kane doesn't step back fast enough. That hesitation says everything. Anger floods Lily's veins, hot and sharp, but beneath it is something more painful, disappointment. She doesn't storm in right away. Instead, she absorbs every detail, every incriminating second, knowing this image will be burned into her memory no matter how Kane tries to explain it away later. When she finally makes her presence known, the look on Kane's face tells her she's just walked in on something he never intended her to see, and Lily's reaction is swift, raw, and unforgiving. She lashes out, her words cutting deep as she demands to know how many times he's looked her in the eye and lied, how many times he's reassured her while still gravitating back toward Phyllis like a moth to a flame. Phyllis, for her part, may try to play it cool, insisting Lily is misreading the situation, but Lily isn't buying it. She knows Phyllis too well, knows her talent for chaos and her tendency to blur boundaries when it suits her. For Lily, this isn't just about jealousy, it's about trust being shattered yet again, and she makes it painfully clear that if Kane has truly put Phyllis in the rearview mirror, then he's done a terrible job of proving it. Kane scrambles for words, caught between regret and defensiveness, but Lily's patience is gone. This confrontation threatens to crack their fragile reconciliation wide open, and Lily walks away with a warning ringing in Kane's ears: if this happens again, there may be no coming back. While Lily's personal life explodes in emotional fallout, danger is brewing elsewhere as Nick Newman inches closer to cornering Matt Clark, the man hiding behind the alias Mitch Bacall, and Nick is more determined than ever to bring this threat to an end. Nick has been quietly setting traps, pulling strings, and watching Matt's moves with the kind of focused intensity that comes from knowing how dangerous this man truly is. But before Nick can execute his plan, shocking events ripple through the Newman family when Noah Newman is blindsided, literally, by Annie Stewart, who watches with cold calculation as she whacks him from behind and leaves him unconscious on the ground. It's a brutal, sudden attack, and by the time Noah comes to, his head is throbbing and the situation has already escalated beyond anything he imagined. Annie doesn't stop there. With a gun trained on a terrified Sienna Bacall, she forces her to take a walk, leaving no room for argument or escape. Sienna disappears into the night under Annie's control, setting off alarm bells that will soon echo through Genoa City. By the time Noah manages to get help and ices the growing lump on his head, he's furious, shaken, and deeply worried. When he updates Nick and Sharon Newman on what went down, the urgency in his voice is impossible to miss. Sharon is horrified, instantly fearing the worst for Sienna, while Nick's reaction is more complicated. Nick, ever the pragmatist, initially wonders aloud if Sienna might have gone willingly, if perhaps she chose to reunite with Matt despite all the red flags. That assumption hits Noah like a slap in the face. Still nursing his injury, Noah doesn't hesitate to call his father out, accusing Nick of always assuming the worst about Sienna, of treating her like she's guilty by association just because of her connection to Matt. Noah is adamant that Sienna would never leave like that, not without a word, not under these circumstances. He's convinced she's in serious danger, and his only focus is on rescuing her before it's too late. Noah's concern quickly turns into determination, and as he starts replaying every detail of the attack, every move Annie made, he becomes more certain that Sienna was taken against her will. This sets Noah on a collision course with danger, because the more he digs, the closer he may come to figuring out exactly where Annie took Sienna. That realization could lead to another explosive showdown, especially if Noah decides to act on his own without waiting for Nick's approval. Sharon, caught between her son and her ex, tries to be the voice of reason, urging caution while sharing Noah's fear. Nick, meanwhile, is torn. On one hand, he wants to protect Noah and prevent him from charging headfirst into a potentially deadly situation. On the other, he can't ignore the growing sense that things with Matt are spiraling fast. Eventually, Nick shifts his focus back to the elaborate traps he's been setting, determined to force Matt into a corner and finally end this nightmare. But the deeper Nick goes, the more dangerous the game becomes. Matt isn't a man who panics easily, and if he realizes Nick is closing in, he may strike back in ways Nick never anticipated. What starts as a calculated move to protect his family could quickly turn into a high-stakes confrontation with deadly consequences. As tension escalates on multiple fronts, a quieter but equally meaningful moment unfolds with Tracy Abbott, who finds herself offering heartfelt advice to Diane Jenkins Abbott. Tracy, ever perceptive, has noticed how consumed Diane and Jack Abbott have become by the latest round of Newman-Abbott feuding, and she gently suggests that they're losing sight of what truly matters. Life, Tracy reminds Diane, is too short to be spent entirely on grudges and corporate wars, especially when love and happiness are within reach. She encourages Diane to carve out time just for herself and Jack, to reconnect away from the chaos and remember why they chose each other in the first place. Diane listens, visibly moved by Tracy's words, because deep down she knows her sister-in-law is right. The constant tension has been exhausting, and while Diane thrives on strategy and strength, she also longs for peace. Tracy's advice plants a seed, one that will soon bloom into something beautiful when Jack and Diane ultimately decide to step away from the battlefield and enjoy a romantic Christmas Eve together. That magical night, filled with warmth and intimacy, may very well be the direct result of Tracy's timely reminder that love deserves to be nurtured, even in the midst of war. Back on the emotional battlefield, Lily's discovery of Kane and Phyllis continues to reverberate, threatening to undo any progress Lily and Kane have made. Lily's trust has been shaken to its core, and even if Kane insists nothing truly happened, the damage may already be done. Phyllis, as always, remains a wild card. Whether she genuinely cares for Kane or is simply drawn to the thrill of forbidden connections, her presence in Kane's life spells trouble, and Lily knows it. This moment forces Lily to confront hard truths about her relationship and about Kane's inability, or unwillingness, to fully let go of the past. As emotions run high, Lily may be faced with a choice: fight for a love that keeps hurting her, or finally walk away before history repeats itself yet again. Meanwhile, Nick's pursuit of Matt grows increasingly perilous as every move he makes seems to tighten the noose while simultaneously raising the stakes. If Nick succeeds, he could finally neutralize a dangerous enemy and bring some measure of safety back to his family. But if he miscalculates, he risks putting everyone he loves in even greater danger. With Noah determined to find Sienna, Sharon desperate to keep her family intact, Annie proving just how ruthless she can be, and Matt lurking in the shadows, the coming days promise explosive confrontations, shocking revelations, and consequences that could ripple through Genoa City for a long time to come. As love, loyalty, and survival collide, no one will emerge unchanged, and every secret, every assumption, and every reckless choice will be tested under the harshest possible light. The fallout from Lily Winter's devastating discovery refuses to settle, instead spreading like a slow-burning fire through every corner of her life, and as the hours tick by, the image of Kane Ashby and Phyllis Summers in that too close, too intimate moment replays in her mind with cruel clarity. Lily tries to focus on work, on anything that will drown out the sting of betrayal, but it's useless. Every email blurs, every conversation feels distant, because beneath it all is the gnawing question she can't escape. If Kane really put Phyllis behind him, why did it look so natural for him to be standing there with her again? When Kane finally tracks Lily down, desperate to explain himself, the tension between them is suffocating. He insists it wasn't what it looked like, swears that nothing physical happened, but Lily stops him cold. She doesn't want excuses. She wants honesty, and more than that, she wants accountability. Lily points out that betrayal doesn't always start with a kiss, it starts with secrecy, with lingering looks, with emotional doors left cracked open just enough for trouble to walk right back in. Kane is visibly shaken by her words, realizing too late that his attempts to reassure Lily now sound hollow. He admits that Phyllis has a way of pulling people into her chaos, but that admission only fuels Lily's anger. If he knows how dangerous Phyllis is to their relationship, why didn't he shut it down immediately? Why didn't he walk away? Lily makes it painfully clear that this isn't just about Phyllis, it's about Kane's patterns, his inability to draw firm lines, and her growing fear that she will always come second to the drama he claims to hate. When Lily finally leaves him standing there, the distance between them feels wider than ever, and Kane is left to wonder if he's just lost the woman he loves for good. Phyllis, meanwhile, is far from remorseful. Alone with her thoughts, she replays the moment Lily walked in, not with guilt, but with irritation. Phyllis tells herself she didn't do anything wrong, that Kane is a grown man capable of making his own choices, and yet there's a flicker of something darker beneath her bravado, a sense of satisfaction that she still has this kind of power. Even if she won't admit it out loud, being the spark that reignites old tensions gives Phyllis a twisted sense of validation. She convinces herself that Lily is overreacting, that Kane will smooth things over, but deep down, Phyllis knows exactly what she's doing. She thrives on emotional volatility, and whether she intends to pursue Kane or not, she has once again inserted herself into the center of someone else's relationship. And as word of Lily's confrontation begins to ripple through Genoa City, Phyllis braces herself for the backlash, confident she can handle whatever comes next, even if she's underestimating just how fed up Lily truly is. While emotional betrayals unfold, the danger surrounding Sienna Bacall escalates rapidly, and Noah Newman's determination to find her becomes an obsession he can't shake. Despite Nick's warnings to slow down, Noah starts connecting dots on his own, replaying Annie Stewart's movements in his head, analyzing where she could have taken Sienna and why. Every second that passes without answers tightens the knot of fear in his chest. Sharon Newman watches her son spiral, torn between pride in his courage and terror that he's putting himself in harm's way. She urges Noah to trust Nick, to let him handle Matt, Clark and Annie, but Noah can't sit back while the woman he cares about is missing and possibly in grave danger. The argument between father and son reaches a boiling point when Noah accuses Nick of caring more about catching Matt than about saving Sienna. Nick fires back that if Noah rushes in recklessly, he could get himself killed, or worse, ruin any chance they have of rescuing her. The words hang heavy in the air, and Sharon steps between them, begging both men to remember they're on the same side. Still, the rift remains, fueled by fear, guilt, and deeply rooted differences in how they approach danger. Unbeknownst to them, Annie's grip on Sienna is tightening. Isolated and terrified, Sienna tries to stay calm as Annie marches her forward, gun never wavering. Annie's cold resolve sends chills through Sienna, and it becomes painfully clear that this woman is capable of anything. Sienna attempts to reason with her captor, asking what she wants, but Annie's response is vague and ominous. She hints that Sienna is leverage, a bargaining chip in a much larger game involving Matt and the Newmans. With every step, Sienna fights the urge to panic, clinging to the hope that Noah will come for her, that someone will notice she's gone and act fast. But as the hours drag on, doubt begins to creep in. What if she's wrong about Nick? What if he really does think she left willingly? That thought hurts almost as much as the fear itself, but Sienna forces herself to stay alert, determined to survive long enough for the truth to come out. Back in Genoa City, Nick Newman sharpens his focus on Matt Clark, convinced that tightening the net is the only way to bring this ordeal to an end. Nick arranges meetings, spreads misinformation, and watches closely as Matt starts to feel the pressure. He can see it in Matt's eyes, the flicker of paranoia, the subtle shifts in behavior that signal a man who knows he's being hunted. But Nick's confidence is tempered by a growing unease. Every step forward feels like it's pushing Matt closer to something desperate, something dangerous. And Nick knows all too well what desperate men are capable of. As he sets his final trap, Nick can't shake the feeling that he's walking a razor-thin line between justice and catastrophe. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and this could all blow up in his face. As tensions mount, Tracy Abbott's advice continues to resonate with Diane Jenkins Abbott, who finds herself reflecting on how consumed she and Jack Abbott have been by conflict. Diane notices the constant edge in Jack's voice, the way stress has crept into their quiet moments, and she realizes Tracy was right. They've been living in survival mode, not truly living at all. When Diane suggests they take a step back, Jack is hesitant at first, still laser-focused on the feud and its implications, but something in Diane's expression gives him pause. He sees the exhaustion there, the longing for normalcy, and he agrees to try. That decision becomes the turning point that leads them to a tender, romantic Christmas Eve, where the noise of rivalries fades and they're left with nothing but each other. In those moments, wrapped in warmth and shared memories, Jack and Diane remember why they fought so hard to find their way back together. It's a rare pocket of peace in a city brimming with chaos, and for a brief time, love wins. But peace is fleeting in Genoa City, and Lily's heartbreak soon collides with the broader storm brewing around her. After cooling off, Lily confides in a trusted ally, admitting that this latest betrayal has reopened old wounds she thought had healed. She questions whether loving Kane means accepting a lifetime of doubt and disappointment, and the realization terrifies her. Lily is stronger now than she once was, less willing to settle for half-truths and broken promises. As she weighs her options, one thing becomes clear: she won't allow herself to be humiliated again. If Kane can't prove, through actions, not words, that Phyllis truly has no place in his life, Lily is prepared to walk away, no matter how much it hurts. Kane, for his part, is forced to confront the consequences of his choices. Alone and rattled, he finally acknowledges that he's been playing with fire, underestimating how deeply his connection with Phyllis could wound Lily. He considers cutting ties with Phyllis once and for all, but even that decision feels complicated, tangled in history and unresolved emotions. Still, the fear of losing Lily eclipses everything else, and Kane resolves to make a decisive move, one that could either save his relationship or push it past the point of no return. As all these threads tighten, the danger surrounding Matt Clark reaches a critical point. Nick's trap begins to close, and Matt senses it. With Annie holding Sienna and Noah inching closer to the truth, the situation becomes a volatile powder keg ready to explode. Every character involved stands at a crossroads, forced to choose between fear and courage, self-preservation and sacrifice. Love is tested, loyalties are strained, and the line between hero and villain blurs with every passing moment. By the time the next confrontation looms, it's clear that nothing will ever be the same. Lily's trust hangs by a thread, Noah's resolve could put him directly in harm's way, Nick's strategy threatens to spiral out of control, and Sienna's fate remains terrifyingly uncertain. As Genoa City braces for impact, one truth rises above the chaos: the choices made now will echo long after the dust settles, reshaping relationships, destroying illusions, and proving once again that in this town, secrets never stay buried, and consequences always come due. The tension in Genoa City doesn't ease, it sharpens, tightening around every character like a vice as the consequences of recent choices begin to collide in unexpected and explosive ways. Lily Winters, still reeling from what she witnessed, wakes the next morning with a clarity that surprises even her. The hurt is still there, raw and pulsing, but beneath it is something steadier, resolve. She's done minimizing her pain to keep the peace. When Kane Ashby reaches out again, asking to talk, Lily agrees, but on her terms. Their meeting is quiet, almost deceptively calm, but the emotional undercurrent is fierce. Lily tells Kane that what broke her trust wasn't just Phyllis's presence, but Kane's hesitation, the way he didn't immediately shut things down. She explains that she can't build a future on constant vigilance, always wondering if the past is waiting to ambush her again. Kane listens, truly listens this time, and for the first time, he doesn't interrupt, doesn't defend himself. He admits that part of him has always underestimated how deeply his actions affect Lily, and that realization hits him harder than any accusation ever could. Lily lays out a stark boundary: if Kane wants to be with her, Phyllis must be completely, unequivocally out of his life, not as a friend, not as a confidant, not as unfinished business. It's an ultimatum born not from spite, but from self-respect. Kane agrees, but even as he does, Lily can see the internal struggle flicker across his face, and it leaves her wondering if this promise will hold when tested. Phyllis Summers, sensing the shift in the air, isn't content to stay on the sidelines. She crosses paths with Lily unexpectedly, and the tension between them is immediate and electric. Lily doesn't explode the way Phyllis might expect. Instead, she's cold, composed, and devastatingly honest. She tells Phyllis that whatever game she's playing, she's done being a pawn in it. Lily makes it clear that she's